Hello, everyone. It is Saturday, September the 2nd, 2023. Today is a very significant day in my life. I'm going to say significant, as well as a day that changed the entire trajectory of my life. When I tell you, whew, okay, I'm going to try to get through this, but I'm here to share my journey. It's called Real Talk, the Journey. And the last 365 days of my life has been just that. So what does this mean to you? What does the word journey mean to you? When someone says journey, what do you think of? I think of, and the definition of it is traveling from one place to the other. That's exactly what my life has been over the course of the last 12 months, 365 days. This time last year, y'all, I was sitting at the bedside of my grandmother, and she gained her wings around 4:30 to 6:30 in the morning this time last year. But the week, I would say actually the weeks leading up to this was definitely a journey. So let me just walk through this journey that was one of the hardest, when I tell you, the hardest times in my life in 50 years. Well, at that time I was 49. So it started with the phone call. Yes, the phone call came through and said, we have to place your grandmother in hospice. Well, she had a couple of strokes prior to. The hospice folks from Wichita Falls called me because I was listed as a contact along with my mom, and they said, hey, may I speak to Twyla? This is how the phone call went, y'all. I said, okay, this is she. They said, well, this is, can't remember the lady's name, but they told me their name. They said who they're with and why they were calling. And I said, well, what? Wait a minute. You must have the wrong person. Because mind you, my grandmother was getting better, but then she did take a little turn for the worse. But I had no idea that the turn had turned to no more they can do. We all know what hospice is, right? It's just a matter of time waiting until that time comes to keep the person comfortable, right? There's no more they're gonna do or can do. That's the position my family and I were in the latter part of August of last year. So the week leading up to Labor Day weekend, which here we are, was a journey. It was rocky. It was rough. Have you been there? Where every day something different was happening. Y'all, I didn't even have time to think. I couldn't even eat some days. Some days during that week, all I could do is sit there because I was nauseated the minute food hit my stomach. Nerves, I guess, was just at an all-time high. And so as the hospice nurses start to come in, my grandmother, sometimes she was awake more so than others, and then the decline went down, down, down as that week went on. And I'm not going to go into so many detail because I'm really trying to get through this without crying. But y'all, I want to put a pin here. Have you ever experienced anything in life where you just didn't know what to do? When I tell you, I, there were days, y'all, I was speechless. I reached out to my folks, people that know me very well. I even put on socials. I said, I just need prayer. I don't even know what to do other than sit beside my grandmother's bedside and assure her, because they told us she could still hear. She just was not able to communicate, and she could still understand us. So I was constantly, consistently talking to her. My mom and I, as we sat there beside her that entire time, other family members coming in the house, my kids came, they couldn't take it either. It was just too much to deal with. It was almost unbearable. Have you ever been there? You just don't know what to do. Like, you have no idea. All your strength that you know that you have is gone. like you're just trying to keep it together, because when they say when life be lifing, it starts lifing, and it happens to the best of us. It will happen to you somehow, some shape or form, whether it's grieving a loved one, whether it's a loss of a job, whether it's a divorce, what have you. It will happen. It's inevitable. Life is be lifing. I know that's not correct grammar, but that's what happens, right? And so getting back to the journey, the story. And so days passed, the week passed, every day it was something different. The chaplain comes in. I couldn't hold it together. And I'm usually a real strong person, y'all, but that right there, it rocked my world. And so I'm trying to stay strong for my mom. My mom had been her primary caregiver, who she lived in the house with my mom, or my grandmother. That was my grandmother's house. My mom lived in her house, taking care of her, doing all these things. But when her health declined and there was nothing more they could do, it happened so fast, just fast, y'all, like unreal. So we get to Friday night or Friday evening, the Saturday of the weekend of Labor Day weekend. So that was Friday, Thursday, September the 1st, because Friday was September the 2nd, the day she actually passed. So we get to Thursday evening, the nurse's normal visit, and the nurse told us to make phone calls. If there's people that want to see Ma, that's what we call her, y'all, you need to have them come over, because she's probably not going to make it through the night. Those words alone just rocked me all over again. I was speechless. And I sat there and I said, my brain, I heard what she said, but my brain did not comprehend it, right? And I said, oh, wait, okay. So I began to make phone calls. It's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It's late, and it's a school night. It's a work night. The family members came over. We all sat there, stood there, had our moments, cried. We did whatever we needed to do, because it was here. And what was it? It was my grandmother's last hours with us. And so my mom, we pulled up another chair, and she and I sat beside that bed, listened to Shirley Caesar, and that was my grandmother's favorite gospel artist, y'all. And we just sat there, cried, held her hand, and we were exhausted. We were tired. So we left the room, went to our respective places, her bedroom, and I was in there on the couch. I couldn't even sleep in the room that I normally sleep in. I just couldn't. I was on that couch, and about 4:30, I recall it like nothing, like it was yesterday, y'all. I was there and I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, I checked her. She was still with us. My mom got up probably around 6:30. And remind you, I was just in there a couple hours ago, and she said, Twyla, I think she's gone. I think she's passed. And y'all, she had. In those 2 hours, Ma was still protecting her family, because she did not want us to see her take her last breath. And so it's Friday morning, September the 2nd. Ma is gone. She has gained her wings. Now, what are we going to do? That was a great question. I didn't know. I remember when one thing I did, I ran down that hall so fast, ran out of that house, crying uncontrollably. Have you ever cried so hard where you felt like you were going to hyperventilate? I felt like hyperventilation was upon me. I felt like I needed to literally vomit, throw up. I just could not take it. What am I going to do without Ma in my life? I didn't have any answers at that point. 12 days, the next 12 days was so hard for us. if you've ever planned a homegoing celebration for a loved one that you love dearly, it is one of the hardest, if not the hardest thing in life to do. And regardless of how you knew it was coming, nothing prepares you for this, nothing at all. And so we took a break, came to Dallas, told my mom, I said, let's just go away. Let's just get away. Let's just clear our heads. We had time to plan and the planning of everything. And we did that. And once we buried her Wednesday, September the 14th, it was 12 days later. That's when the healing journey began for all of us. And what did I do? I took off 6 months from work. Yeah. Could I afford to do that? No, not really. But I had to get me together because I knew I was in a depressive state. I would literally sit in my chair every day, hardly not eat. Tried to eat, but then I instantly would feel nauseated. Got myself in counseling, actually a counselor and another therapist at the same time, a psychiatrist at the same time. Y'all, I needed some help, and I knew I needed some help. I needed to work on me. And when I did, I got better. And days passed, months passed. And I got to the point to where I could actually go to Wichita Falls. It was about 10 months later, not long ago. I went to visit her grave. I went to her house, spent some time with my mom. In the meantime, I still was calling and checking on my mom, but I just physically could not go. And I remember my therapist told me, you go when you're ready. And we also got involved. My mom and I both went through this course. It's called Grief Share. And if you've ever lost a loved one, when I tell you that was the best program I ever had experienced. It was phenomenal. I'd go through it again. I would go through it 2 or 3 more times. It was that powerful. And so we're better. Our family's relationships are better. My mom and I are good, but there's not a single day, y'all, not a single day that passes by where I don't think about mom. And it'll probably be that for the rest of my life. I don't think you ever get over grief or the long passing of a loved one. I think you just learn how to cope and deal with them no longer being here physically with you. So that's the journey. And today is the 1-year anniversary of Mom's passing. And I love you, Mom. I'm rocking your hat today. And I know you are looking down and on all of us and wishing us nothing but the best, because you always said, keep climbing, Twyla. And you always said, we gonna be all right when you leave from here. 88 years, you were here, and we are all right. Is it hard? Yes, it is. But we make it through leaning and trusting in God. So what am I here to tell you and how to handle your journey, right? It's a journey. The definition of journey is moving from place to place. So one thing I'd like to say is, when you know you're on a journey, don't rush the process. It takes time. It takes work. And it takes perseverance. You have to acknowledge that something is wrong and going on with you, and realize that you need help, right? Whether that's going through a divorce, whether it's grief, it's okay to go to counseling. That's why you see this couch with those purple pillows. It's okay to go sit on somebody's couch. It is just fine. You're going to be so much better. Then 2, it heals relationships. Whatever it is that you're going through, relationships will be mended during that process. And number 3, you will be a better person. I promise you that. You'll be focused. You'll be refreshed. You'll be rejuvenated, but you've got to do the work when you're going through the process, right? You have to, it's inevitable. Have to get it done. And so now I'm here. I can get through this without crying. There's no way I could have done this 6 months ago or even 9 months ago, talking about the journey. But that's how I know I'm stronger. I'm wiser. I'm so much better, in the words of Marvin Sapp. And I can tell you today that if you're ready to do the work, even if you're not ready to do the work, first point, acknowledge that work needs to be done. And then baby steps. It's a journey. It's traveling from one place to the other. So that's all I have, y'all. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope something I said today will inspire you along your journey of healing so you can be a better person. Bye. Love y'all.